Alright, so today, I look upon some great leaders, you know. I look some leaders through Jamaica and things. So when me I meditate, you know, me have a time when me want to meditate. You know, I just listen to some great people and look what them used to do, you know. And look how the country reach. Me knock it straight, you know, me not go around the corner, you know. I tell you this. If you have a dog or a drunk around Jamaica, I don't care. As long as they do a job. If you not do a job, we're going to point you out. And we're about opposition too, because opposition I get paid. You know, for keep the people abreast. You know, when something not go right and something not do right, you have to come out and talk. You know, the people them and make them know. So I could just play about I'm gonna play some things right now, but I gonna listen to Micheal Manley. Yeah, and the world, you know, what episode of things and things. See? So I could just start from this now. And the more I listen at the budget and what come in. So I could just go through it. Watch this.
One of our great leaders, political stalwart, distinguished orator, and social reformer.
So that's how I start this, you know. Because I want to say anything what politicians say him do. Not just chat, but you come and do something. When I talk, have a bag of man and money and missing and beer, rabbit and beer, sitting. Not work for me, you know. You understand? So me have to come and do things like this.
With a deep commitment to economic independence and social justice, Manley began a process of social and economic reform.
A lot of changes have to take place in this country. A lot of changes.
Micheal Manley's concern for the family was well known. He heralded the call for equality of the sexes and established the Bureau of Women's Affairs to deal with discrimination against women.
Okay, good.
December 1, 1974 was historic with the tabling of the Equal Pay Law, which provided that women doing the same jobs as men were entitled to the same pay.
So the man come in with laws where right now America still a struggle with, because it's hard, you know, woman and same pay, woman do the same work and get the pay and pay when Jamaica pass that, you know. These are what me I talk about, that them things where I look for in a leader and where them stand up for and all kind of things. You know? As a third world, and you get up and you stand up for some justice and stand up for some equal rights and stand up for something. And make women have talk and all kind of things. Them if you know this, know history, you know. You see me I say? Me not have foolishness with nobody, you know. Whether GLP and PMP, me not have foolishness with them. If you now come and set some things, because right now, to me see, with housing and everything else, yeah, even Eric, poor people not stand a chance. Them push you out, you know. Yeah, man.
The establishment of the family court was another act of great significance.
Yeah.
Attendant on this was the Affiliation Act, so that fathers who desert mothers and their children and migrate can be sued for the maintenance of their children.
Yeah, the boys are great at that. You know, because you have someone that run left them picnic and them no business. Man. You see it? You just listen, you hear them things, you know. No, you can't put, no, in a Jamaica at them time, you can't put nothing to them prime minister your name, you know, nothing with them do. Okay, you can't come show me a road where I buy money and just fix the road and say boom boom. You have to uplift the country. Them now uplift the country. You understand? Push you no more poverty. You understand?
The Equal Status for Children Act, repealing the Bastard Act, could possibly be seen as the greatest single social achievement of Manley in the 1970s. All children, by law, could now inherit the legacy of their parents.
You hear that? Because you see one time, you know, you're a bastard if you're born out of wedlock and them thing there. The master and slave move that and, you know, equal thing. So your child, you know, man, get a child out there, so a couple of children, you know, get some children outside there and then you married, you know, them not have no right to, no, it's a foreign right across the board. You see, if you have people, visionaries, who think about people, you know, for them future, is it?
Bastard not there again, no bastard not there again, everyone laughing.
That's why they used to say bastard, you know, don't it? Yeah, man.
Establishment of a minimum wage was a plus for the working class. It stipulated that every man or woman entering into a contract of service must be paid a minimum wage and should not work for more than the prescribed maximum hours without getting overtime pay.
Realize that employment is the most important single objective of government in this country.
You know what I'm going now, but you sit down and listen, the pirate house. You can't listen nothing what them must say. All them do is throw a word and who thief from bad mind and them things and the people them run with that. You can't bring that to me in my ears. None at all. And the country will go back where? We lose everything. Them time we have plane, train, we have ferry, you know, you have your movie theater, them open, you have cinema, we have all kind of things. Jamaica have all kind of things. No, we don't have nothing. You understand?
Because the unemployed is a man to whom freedom is not even a word. Certainly not an idea. And the root of our policy in the future will be humanism, self-reliance, and economic nationalism to create a society of personal freedom, founded in the security of the family, and a true nation resting securely upon a foundation of economic independence. In short, a society of justice and freedom.
So if you don't have economical independence, you don't have the freedom neither. That's why you see we turn back on people them in a slave all over again. We don't have foolishness. No star. Me no it. So when I meditate on a different level in alone, so me no. Yeah. We can't make them go nowhere dinner with the foolishness, you know. No star. No star.
The thing that is closest to my heart is housing.
Housing.
When a man and his loved one can look at a roof and know that it cannot leak, can know there is a little kitchen where they can cook in dignity, can know there is somewhere they can sit down and break bread together, can know there is a room that they can put the children in, and know that at night the children can go and sit there in peace. That when you have done that, you have laid the foundation for Christian life and for justice.
You see? But you look at one matches back, so you can't where you gotta do. Put them in a one little thing nowadays.
The modern world, the most important of all the tools of mankind is the ability to interact.
Therefore, I am very pleased to announce that the government of Jamaica, commencing September of this year, is announcing a scheme for free secondary education in Jamaica.
Free secondary. So you see the year when they come in, free secondary education.
We're going further, son, and that is that for those children that can fight through the primary system, fight through the secondary system, fight through to their levels, fight through the whole of the competition to reach university at the end, to get the final touch on the skills that we need, we're also abolishing the fees of Jamaica. These are the means by which the poor will come to the people. Sacrifice now for a great day tomorrow, where we will march together in the name of work, in the name of justice, because the word is love.
You know how you about no word of love and them thing that be a true word and them thing. I go to the 73 speech to you, I go to some other things and I show how the country run. This is way the youth them nowadays not study. Them just want love, you know, love party. No sir. They want good leader to run the country. The little arms don't see that thing. You understand? Hear this.
Very, very fundamental justice. It's a non-negotiable item on our agenda.
And the man that stand up, because we stand up for freedom for the whole world and look how the whole world thing. You know, they're self-centered, you know. You see me? See me, I said them man that seem like us, Mandela get up and go fight. They say Marcus Garvey said something and Malcolm X. Manley, I one of the man them like them man there too, you know. Of course, I'm not just like a Jamaica Prime Minister. You look on a bigger, wider picture. You see me I say? Be a man. Jamaica Prime Minister right now some pea brain them have. Be a foolishness. Be a stupid advisor. Some Google gagas and be a foolishness. Me no in that. You understand? Me no in a government global business. None at all.
We start from certain positions of principle.
Principle.
1. Cuba is our nearest neighbor. 2. Cuba is a member of the third world like us.
Yeah.
3. Cuba fights at our side for changes in the world economic system.
Change to the world economic
We
system.
find Cuba the most principled country to deal with. They operate on a basis of respect for sovereignty and non-interference in other people's internal affairs. They have an internationalist policy that if you say to them, come and be my friend, we think you have certain skills that are interesting. We think you've done certain things that are interesting. We would like to have a look at what you've done. Would you like to cooperate with us in a field? They say fine. If you don't want to cooperate, they say fine. We have long since understood that they are on a particular path of development that is obviously massively supported by their people and which is a product of their objective circumstances.
Yeah.
Their revolution arose out of the horrors of one of the worst tyrannies the world had ever known. And a lot of their experience is conditioned by that fact. We are a totally different thing. We had a different kind of society, different traditions. We had a functioning plural democracy. And we're on what we call our democratic socialist path of development, which has certain points of similarity with theirs, but very substantial points of difference with theirs, and we respect each other. But even more important than all of that, and this is what is non-negotiable to us,
Non-negotiable.
Cuba is a legitimate part of the world and this hemisphere. And it has one of the most legitimate governments in the world because legitimacy is a function of popular support and nothing else. Nothing else legitimizes except people. And no country, in our view, no country has the right to impose sanctions upon Cuba or any other country that has legitimacy. To us, therefore, it is non-negotiable that Cuba must be accepted as a full, free, and untrammeled member.
So what is wrong with that for a country, a man? No matter how you talk, but for talk the truth and stand up in a business boy, Goliath. If you know, say you know, people if you have the right that the world we not come dictate to, we are dictate to what. Great leader. And you want to take this and people want to use propaganda and spread say boom boom. When the man done said some things that it make we benefit off of it. We not see nobody else come make nothing benefit off of nothing and everything gone, you know, we're playing everything, train everything gone, you know. They understand everything sell out. Everything up to JPS sell out. People know look what the thing gone to. Eh? When you have a country, when you change over from the pound, shilling and pence, you have paper 50 cents. And the strongest denomination was $20. They know say your money is strong. You have a $1 or $2, paper 50 cents too. Remember them, they come out in a 75. Remember, we used to spend paper 50 cents. So remember it good, yeah? So these are the things that I try to show you. Look how your economy is strong. And look where it turned to now. But a man can stand up and say boom and talk the truth. You're not a coward business and bow to some things. Other country might want to attack you and mash you up here. But you have to stand up for the truth. And tell me what, history, you know. History is sure, you know. History is sure, man.
Of the world community and the hemispheric community. And if that is not so, we can't make it so. I don't say this in arrogance. I'm talking about what we stand for, not what we can make happen. But what we stand for, we will not move over and we'll pay any price for. And, you know, looking at it from a practical point of view, you could say this. If you can do that to Cuba because somebody doesn't like the Cuban Revolution, then how do I know that you don't do that to me tomorrow? Because you don't like something that I do.
Watch a point there. That's why you see me as a man, me listen to people with real reason. I can't listen to a Google Gaga. When I make no sense. You understand? Me not do that. So if you do it to Cuba, why we know say not do it to me? That's why we end up that way there. But for me,
it's an arrogance. I'm talking about what we stand for, not what we can make happen. But what we stand for, we will not move over and we'll pay any price for. Yeah. And, you know, looking at it from a practical point of view, you could say this. If you can do that to Cuba because somebody doesn't like the Cuban Revolution, then how do I know that you don't do that to me tomorrow? Because you don't like something that I do.
Would you say then that this is a reason why you are dissatisfied with the absence of sanctions against South Africa while there are sanctions against Cuba?
It does not. Well, I'm not an easy person to embitter, but that makes me as near to bitter as anything in the contemporary world. It's something that I said in Maputo, actually, at a conference to which I was invited this year, that it really is a tragic commentary on human values in the world, that there are still sanctions against this really very brave and brilliant social and human experiment which is taking place in Cuba. Even if you don't agree with the methodology, it's a remarkable experiment. And you can leave sanctions against that country and apply not one sanction, but they're now talking about an arms embargo, but not one economic sanction against the ultimate leper of the international community, South Africa.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Not even one at the time in South Africa, you have our people them jump up and say boom, bam, 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 bam. Yo, me know in foolishness. Saying so before me even play something else, maybe just go to this. Maybe Farrakhan, maybe hear what I say. Maybe hear what Farrakhan say.
Even down in Jamaica, I'm skipping. They tried in 1976 to organize a military coup to overthrow Micheal Manley. In 1976, they supported attempts to assassinate Micheal Manley on 3 different occasions. The little man who led Jamaica, who spoke at Savior's Day, was such a threat to our government that they attempted 3 times to assassinate the man in 1976. So later, they found a way to get rid of him through riots in the street over food.
Remember, we sit down now in 2021 and we are watch Venezuela and we watch a lot of things, right? We sit down and we are watch it and we see how the thing work. You understand? How the thing work. I mean, sit down and we see, you know, Russia involved in mingling in US affairs, and them not go against it and draw your door mingling with personal affairs in our election and nothing like that. So it should have go right across the board, though. Yeah, it should have go right across the board. And a man might have feel so, okay, your country too little and for you come and talk so big and brawl and, you know, if you don't like it, we don't do it to others, man. You understand? But see it and watch another country. And the 70s is the dread because enough people get taken out back in the 70s, you know.
Even down in Jamaica, I'm skipping, they tried in 1976 to organize a military coup to overthrow Micheal Manley. In 1976, they supported attempts to assassinate Micheal Manley on 3 different occasions. The little man who led Jamaica, who spoke at Savior's Day, was such a threat to our government that they attempted 3 times to assassinate the man in 1976. So later, they found a way to get rid of him through riots in the street over food when they cut off assistance to Jamaica. This is America.
So these are things I tell you, me as a man, you have your past. Believe through the years. You know, but if you don't know your past, you know your future. You have your future and study your future, man. See? And then when you look now, me see, you know, Prime Minister come and I say, you know, we live through this because of it, Manley. You talk foolishness. When you take for the land and give back to the rich and all that kind of little things. We are playing them because everything documented. I want thing with the world, you know. Whether America, whether anywhere at all, everything from slavery go right, them document these things. Everything documented. So it can come out, you know, and even when we get independence back in 1962, you know, like 80%, 85% of the population couldn't read and write. So them just go with anything but politicians say. It wouldn't be now, you couldn't come bring that to them. Because them are come across iron that teas and do everything possible with them. And you can't go trick them. You couldn't go trick them like no, because you have people like where you come up to the front of the line, you know, we're not ramping up. You understand? Me not say nothing right now for uplift the poor from this. Nothing. You can't buy a house, how much is back? When man they come with that same thing. You gotta play something on it. I make you hear the budget, and it's a 73. Remember I mean 72, 73 budget. And I'm going to tell you how him fund him budget and how, you know, self-reliance. Self-reliance. Free this, free that, and then put them in a place and enough people benefit off it and them know the truth.
We are starting for the first time national service in Jamaica.
First time.
We feel the great need is in education.
Yeah.
And we're going to call for the young people to give us a period of time when they get back into the primary system to teach.
That's why you have some young people that teach German and them things. They're not teaching that things because they call upon them and things. So, you know, you want to take up, revolutionize the country and take up and things. Tell me in yourself what you know right now, whether PMP or GLP, which set of people you see go up now in the house and sit down and then budget debate with like this where them are. Them go tell you, oh, with this we grow this and low, you know, see no growth, you know. With this, with that and tell you one back a thing. Oh, with this and that and police, boom bam bam. But I spend this and that and boom bam. I want the criminal and one back a thing. And them are the criminal attack the people, you know. The real criminal in the private house. See? They don't have nothing for local people. The National Housing Trust, they for help the people them from crash program and the smaller people them. Say you want to work a little thing, they say you throw a little contribution. You always are qualified. But no, you're not qualified for nothing. One matches box, one bedroom matches box, 9 million, 8.59 million. Oh, you can buy it when you do have an account. First time you have a school, them come down, open account for you. We have, remember we have Royal Bank Jamaica Limited? You remember, don't it? Lions, one bag of things. You have one bag of different bank, you know, Scotia, this and that. Some of them lock up and gone right now, see? They used to come to school and do your school account and you turn your normal bank account. Them they come up in your account and you know, everything. Free this, plant, this, that you have to go to school.
Before they move on out into their careers.
Yeah.
Once a child reaches 16 or 17, if they say fail their O-level exam, we will then ask them to give 2 years, to volunteer for 2 years, to come in and teach in the primary schools while we look after them, which will also give them a chance to try again for their exam, in which case they might then be able to take advantage of it to move on further away.
Get it. Now for listen, them are good enough, man.
If the child passes the O-level and wants to move on to A-level, or some kind of technical training, child will go, but we will ask it to carry the obligation of service. And if it goes right to the end of the university system, so be it. But even at that time, we're going to say, come and teach certain subjects in the technical schools, come and teach subjects even for 2 years in the primary schools. Create a revolution in the knowledge of the people by putting our skills that we've got through our secondary system cycled back into the training of more skills so as to bring the light of knowledge and freedom to the people that have been born and growing up in the system.
So we know we're not hearing about Jezebel and all kind of things where that you know, because them time you have parliament. A man have to come with, you know, you present something and then work on it. Not just come talk, but actually push it through. When I talk, push them through. You understand?
That is the most exciting challenge and opportunity for Jamaica since independence.
Yeah.
Something to stir the fire of nationalism and patriotism in your heart, Mr. Speaker. National service will be asked to give 2 years, mainly in teaching, but also if people prefer perhaps the literacy program, they can help with the youth development program, with the youth camps that are coming on stream later this year, the new type of youth development. There are all sorts of ways in which they can help look back into their country, so that instead of drowning through the lack of resources to create training, we use our own resources that say, let me give back something to the country that gave me both birth and the life opportunity of higher education. Because of all this planning, sir, I'm very pleased to be able to announce something more about education. At the present time, about 2,500 children in each age group move through into the secondary system, and then some into the comprehensive, the technicals, etc. Because of plans already laid, 9,000 of those children will be able, by next year, September, to move into expanded technical schools and expanded secondary schools. That still leaves another 10,000 of junior secondaries with nowhere to go right now. Because of the call for the volunteers and the getting of the secondary schools to give back the training in the system, we are going to be able to revolutionize the quality of the primary education, develop a well-educated youngster that is going in. We're going to be able to release the best teachers to move up the system and strengthen the system inside the junior secondary. And by the introduction of the SHIP system next year, among the 19,000 junior secondaries, 9 of whom will go on to secondary, but 10 of whom will remain, we will be able to give 2 years further training and lift the age of the junior secondary schools from 15 to the age of 17.
From 15 to the age of 17. So when it stop at 50, you push it back to the junior secondary to the age of 17. You see? Them man come and them man they don't talk. Yeah, the bagger Nancy thing where we're going now in the Henry Morgan house. You talk about real man with real vision, and I talk about the kids, the youths them. We don't have nothing planned for them, but we're going to harm the police them. If you go around and kill your own son and daughter and anybody and do all kind of thing, them come from the borough. We now uplift the country and surrender the country to aliens, to foreigners. And them, like it's a slave business right now. You understand? Yeah, I'm buried at Eros Park. Yeah, man.
What we're going to do with the 10,000 is to create training in the junior secondaries that is particularly orientated to the needs of the economy. Therefore, that 2 years of extra training in the junior secondary for the other 10,000 will have a heavy vocational bias, strong on work attitudes, concepts of work discipline, and the creation of skills that will be particularly identified by industry as the things of which they are short. We want to see this country can take one thing and lift it out of the quagmire of politics and let it be like a beacon summoning the nation to the solution of its own problems through self-reliance. I come back now, Mr. Speaker, to where I began, which was the problem of an age group marching forward. You have, say, 50,000 children of 15, all with their anxious parents behind them.
All with them anxious parents. Now, which one of them boys say see them sit down? The Prime Minister talking to them parents and make the plan and then put them in a place right now. Whether JLP or PMP, which one of them Prime Minister will see going after that man? Which one of them you can name out and say do this? Them tell the road and water man a cut off the water right now. Me no one of them are sink poor people right now. Everything them take back from the poor and them themselves capture the land too. Take it back.
Of the 50,000 children roughly of that age next year, instead of 9,000 with a hope and 41 the face of blank wall, at one stroke we will have lifted it to 28,000 children who will be receiving further training of one sort or another. More than 3 times in one stroke. And the key is national service. Putting back to the nation of what we gain from the privilege of education. When we talk of taxes, I say to people, I know it is hard. I know it reminds me, I hear all the jokes and fine, the better the bitter, and that's all what makes life worth living. But let me remind everybody so that, it's a very funny thing about life, Mr. Speaker. Many a man has died of an illness because there was not a doctor to prescribe one dose of medicine.
Just listen to man good enough and I tell you how funny thing. And what him do? Just listen.
And many a man lives in the world today, Mr. Speaker, because there was a doctor that had the courage to say, draw one draught of the medicine, it will taste bad, it will be bitter, but it is the thing that will release you to the better that must come. And therefore, I say, I know the taxes are high, but I say to a person, when you're thinking of you bet, and I hope you win it, wherever you are, whoever you are, think that that is helping to start the revolution again in education, to lift it yet again from where the torch bearers of the past have brought it up to now. If you're drawing on a cigarette, think that it is helping, that either it was going to stay down, or the condensed milk go up, or we couldn't start this great new initiative in education. We couldn't give the chance, we couldn't let the mothers see the whole light of hope dawn for the children of the next generation.
Which one of them them politicians come and tell about the kids, them are the next generation. If you are drawing the cigarette, rather you do it and now go up with the condensed milk, put it on the cigarette, or put it on the car or something. They know what for search a thing. Yeah?
Something had to pay. And rather than creep along like before, we said, let us be bold now. Let us be brave now. Let us take time and destiny by the forelock now, so that we can set tomorrow's generation free. One person buying a car, sure it had 76% tax before, so now it has 25% more. It's not because I don't want people to have cars, but something has to pay. And maybe somebody buying a $4,000 car which already has 75% tax on it, maybe, or something around there, and there's another 25%, not as much as was there before. Let them think that maybe that money will be supplying perhaps 2 jobs for 2 people that have never had a job in their lives. And ask yourself, do you love your country enough for that to be worthwhile? And I say, sir, we talk of change. What is change? Change, sir, is the willingness to look at your system and have the courage to know what is wrong. More is not change. Change is to reorder the values of your life. Change is to have a vision of a new hope for a society. Change is to have the courage to invest something now in sacrifice, so that tomorrow's people may be free. Change is a matter of a vision of justice. And when you talk of change, was there change? Let us speak of change. Labor Day was change. As people began to feel the People's Food Complex that is coming is change, because it will bring relief. That is change. Operation Grow is change. The leasehold system is there for change.
The leasehold system, that are the lease land where you own, lease own. There, this is how them take back from poor people. You live on a piece of land and you go and farm it up and there without disturb, and you got they administrate that, and you know. You get a piece of thing for yourself, go and pay your taxes and you're good. Them take with that because I remember the slave backer master, them used to control the whole land them, you know. He just step on it like a little squat and the man take it and say, no, people them have to have land. You see what them do? Them reverse that. Foreigner and everybody, no foreigner not supposed to even have a hotel unless he might team up with me or team up with a Jamaican or something. Can't come own a hotel in our country. Country too small. With too much people. You understand? For much as foreigner come old, when you look at them and the whole of the wholesale now and the whole of the supermarket, some Chinese them and the whole of this, and then poor people now have nothing. Nobody know they feel uplift them and push them. You will see them people that leave and come in and we get to come live with me. No, they live uptown. Like them a first class citizen in your country and you them a trample. Government no good right now. Me not listen to them. Me live through this. And somebody tell me somebody just play it for who never remember it, you know.
The integrity legislation is changed. The literacy program is changed. The recognition of women's rights is changed.
And I know the woman rights, solemn thing that who you think, Manley. So you see, you might add them thing literacy program and all of them thing, they do all of them.
The backyard work week for government workers is changed. The workers' bank that is coming is changed. The creation of equal status for all children in Jamaica is changed. The law to prevent non-Jamaicans owning our land is changed.
Come back there, sir, again, no lonesome. Right there, non-Jamaican for all the land. This is how they move. You hear what I'm doing? Yeah, listen again.
Children in Jamaica is changed. The law to prevent non-Jamaicans owning our land is changed.
And them want it now. So a smart prime minister, something I say now is a little place this. We can have non-Jamaican and own up our land and take our land and give it to them. This is how them reverse. This is how them reverse. And them reverse for them thing. Reverse them. Yes,
the law to prevent non-Jamaicans owning our land is changed. The vote is changed. Free education for the people is changed.
What man? Time.
National service where we put back is changed. These are the means by which, sir, we shall achieve power for the people and freedom in our time. These are the means.
All of them things are grave. Me want to say Jamaica around. Me don't want to hear from them. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to feature Andrew after me done feature this, you know. Yeah, I'm going to feature, you know, I feature past Prime Minister, I'm going to feature present Prime Minister too. See? Yeah, I'm going to feature him. You understand? So you look how much thing. That's what I ask a man say, how much thing you do where you can point out a man do. Oh, that road there, don't bring that to me, you know. The infrastructure, you know, where people live no good, you know. Them can't pay for your house, you know. Them have no more bank account, them have nothing, you know. You know, wipe it out, you look at foreigner one with thing and be a divestment and be a sitting, you know. We war for this, with that, with airport, everything. And line up themselves about chiefs, tragedies, and them and this and that. I don't want to hear from none of them. None. Jamaica go back way. I think we're idiot.
My friends, I'm going to wind up now. Winding up now.
You know, people, all right. I'm on their meeting. I hear when them there meeting, or I'm deal with them kind of little thing, you know. They're meeting and you deal with it. Yeah?
Let me tell you how wind up now. Socialism has got to be built. We have to build it like a house. It can't be handed down. So who come into socialism for a handout? No. Not so. It have to be built. And it need. Everybody want to work. Everybody must have love. Everybody must have discipline.
But for we wind that again. This is what me talk about, you know, hear this in a politics, you know, business, who you is if you're JLP or PMP and them thing there, you have to work together. Eh? And you have to have love. Them not preach that to be a bad man and be a sitting and them just want to reach and tell the foolishness. Me know.
Wind up now.
What do you about that?
Socialism has got to be built. We have to build it like a house. It can't be handed down. So who come into socialism for a handout? No.
Policy, yeah, no, all right.
Not so. It have to be built. And it need. Everybody want to work. Everybody must have love. Everybody must have discipline. We must keep our cities clean. No socialist would ever drop a piece of dirt or litter in the streets. Because the socialists would remember the one coming behind.
You now preach them thing again. I just cause I want a bad mind and when they mash up this and me alone. Me say me have got to show Andrew after this. Me I try showing say the country I go back where. You understand? Not even go with a glue. Me not here come out and say nothing because you get paid. You getting paid. Yeah? If something are go on and it now operate right, make the people them know you get paid for that as opposition. It's not a dictator country. But when I have here from Gorilla Glue either. You understand? And bro, then come out and I say the big influence, them have influencing one and do some things that may even understand. If you sum it up, it don't go, you know, look at the community and when you look 1,600 odd people dead penny watch already. I mean, the media come out and look out. That's me I try. Me I watch, you know. Me I watch more than the gunman kill and car accident to combine right now to the date. You combine that to get 1,200, you get up 1,600 right now. I got 1,700 after this thing, after all them mismanage the thing. See?
Only people with a capitalistic mentality who never dirty the streets, who have love, who have justice, who have concern, keep your city clean. Make I tell you what the party must do. The party, our party is open to all.
Hear this.
Our party must be first in discipline. Our party must be first in work. Our party must be first in sacrifice. Our party must be first in study. You must study. If you're a socialist, you must study. You must study. That's why we start all the great programs, literacy, so that we can bring knowledge. True knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power for sure. Because when I'm full of knowledge, you know, them could have come try to trick me back when I get up to them, and can't trick me, you know. Now, you could have put a Google Gaga and say, him go half for them, go this, him go that and that and that way. You not even valid field. See, now you have a lot of gooks in the place. Educated fools. See? You understand? That's why I tell you, say, no, I don't bother put on no big speech. We can chop through them. You understand? You have to listen to great people, man.
You must read. Now, I have a book called Manley and the New Jamaican. One should find a way to read it. My own little book I write for you is you I write it for. Politics of change is you I write it for. To give you wisdom and understanding. Read it. Make group bite and somebody read it and we'll discuss it because you must be first in study. Knowledge is power.
Alright.
My last word is for the role of leadership. First of all, the leadership of socialism must walk in humility. Humility. Must be humble. Must be humble. Must always be humble. There is no place for arrogance in the party that I lead.
Stop it and come back this again, lonesome. We're not humble. Them remember, Prime Minister, somebody said no, police won't go for them book bap and you know, Andrew Show Clark. And this, I'm not, you know, see, real, you know, representative to represent the people again and deal with the people them business. Them deal with themselves. And the people them I get caught up and I get tricked because them love party more than anything else. I'm on Ramadan. Me tell them already. You understand? We no business. Man, because me that. Me know him in person. Me go him funeral too. Me go Lane State. Me go there. You understand? So, and the man are different. See, the rest, me don't know them, you know. Me don't want to see them, you know. Me know him.
Humility. Humility. Must be humble. Must be humble. Must always be humble. There is no place for arrogance in the party that I lead.
Look how much arrogance in the party right now. We just sit, boy, I mean, just boil up a police and boil him up and do my alarm. No police will do nothing. DPP now ever come out and say, him for charge. Nothing. Because a friend thing and them thing that this, it can't work. Jamaica can't work. That's how when your privacy say you can't do what you want, where you demand certain thing. When people give you a job for do, you know, do it to you and your friend and live in a bubble and then these people. I want to deal with that classism thing. I call out people, them alright. And then if you're too dark or, you know, you live in a certain place, not there for you. You get treated like a real slave.
And anybody that is arrogant over the people must get out of leadership. The only one that is fit to lead is the one that walks hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, equal with the people, loving with the people.
Come back this again. Pure arrogance. And then when I call them,
must always be humble. There is no place for arrogance in the party that I lead.
Alright, more you listen to this good. I will point out some of the things. The man drive simple car and live simple, him the dead rich. So you couldn't come to Monday, he rub up some money and run away. A man there build a house and him send it to one of the Caribbean country and send it back and build it. You can't compete him with this. They might say, oh, no, CIA do this and along with Siaga and them do what they want to do. That's what you see happening in Venezuela and other country right now. You just get real. Can't speed that speed. You understand? Man will stand up to apartheid and stand up against certain little things and say, yo, this now happening in the world. Same like come across them type them man that do no action. You know them things, eh? Stand up for poor people. See it? Them that try to push it and it now gonna work because everything is history recorded, you know. And when they play back to people, them just start digging now and just understand. Show me the next leader.
And anybody that is arrogant over the people must get out of leadership.
Yeah, that.
The only one that is fit to lead is the one that walks hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, equal with the people, loving with the people.
Loving. Yeah.
That's why I don't want no big flashy motor car.
Look where the one of them are drive with our taxpayers' money right now. Look where them are drive. When you see the prime minister, they will take off their shoes and come out. Prime Minister come right now, Jano. When Prime Minister are coming right now, Jano, the amount of thing and the big Jeep, them with them buy $20 million Jeep and everybody are drive, pay big things and them things they not third of the country. Yeah? When man they say, you him drive and you him live. He might tell you. You don't find this again.
That's why I don't want no big flashy motor car. I don't want nobody in my party go with flashy clothes. I dress simple. And I drive in a simple little car. I'm not driving a simple little car.
Yeah.
Because we must walk with the people. The day we think we're bigger than the people, we have no business to lead. Socialism walks in humility with the people.
Yeah.
If you're a socialist, you must have love and concern. And if you're a leader, you must stay close to the people. I said to the leaders of socialism, stay close to the people. When the people are worried and unhappy, don't run away from them. Stay close like a shepherd. Yeah. Give them love. Yeah. Give them care. That is socialism. The leader in socialism must know so that he can explain. He must understand so that he can lead.
Yeah.
He must inspire by example. And above all, he must have integrity. 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 Only honesty can lead the people in socialism. Therefore, my comrades, let us build together. And I call upon you now, in the name of the Father, in the name of God, in the name of Allah, in the name of Jehovah, in the name of Jah, to sing with me our hymn that we are singing now. I give you the words that you must sing. Onward, Christian socialists, marching us to war.
Can you imagine, man? Can you imagine? Man, you're out there and you talk to your people and you have them bad mind, and them thief, and them this and that. How you look, they want everything and mash up. You don't say nothing for the kids. Them nothing. Them not talk. And if them come talk, I remember your action. Them man deal with the action. We live through the action. See? You put in things that you can't sell. You can't get up and sell where you want to sell. To foreigner, the land and all kind of little things. Can't work. You understand? What have you done with that? Me no know, yeah, man. America backs down Manley. Yeah? Hear this. You want to hear something? Hear this. America, hear this.
Why are we taking this risk to anger the United States of America? And the answer is this: we are not angering the United States of America. They are angering themselves. They are not going to tell me what relationship I have with Fidel Castro. We have that friendship with Cuba as part of a world alliance of third world nations that are fighting for justice for poor people in the world.
That damn thing that we are talking about. Some people who don't even stand up with that. See? Anger and then, you know. So we know what really happened. See? The greatest thing you know what really happened, eh?
What relationship I have with Fidel Castro? We have that friendship with Cuba as part of a world alliance of third world nations that are fighting for justice for poor people in the world. As long as this party is in power, we intend to walk through the world on our feet and not on our knees.
Them thing there, it make America get mad, you know. But yeah, but you have to stand up for something. You understand? You have to stand up for something. You see me? I say you have to stand up for something.
Micheal Manley was a Jamaican prime minister, democratic socialist, leader of the international non-aligned movement, and someone who...
Leader of the international non-aligned movement. The international non-alliance movement. Leader, you know. Play it back.
Why are we taking this risk to anger the United States of America? And the answer is this: we are not angering the United States of America.
Themselves.
They are angering themselves.
Really?
They are not going to tell me what relationship I have with Fidel Castro. We have that friendship with Cuba as part of a world alliance of third world nations that are fighting for justice for poor people in the world. As long as this party is in power, we intend to walk through the world on our feet and not on our knees.
You hear that? Some man stand up, you know, stand up in the way you believe it. It's a show where you stand up for, man. If you stand up for the right or the wrong, man, you know?
Micheal Manley was a Jamaican prime minister, democratic socialist, leader of the international non-aligned movement, and someone who had, in fact, a very tragic political story. Micheal Manley was the son of a Jamaican independence leader. Norman Manley was a liberal, someone to the sort of center-left, focused on Jamaican independence, well-educated, upper class, and...
But you want to say about socialists just a step. What kind of step? Because right now we have China in our place and we know we have two-party system and all kind of things. So we now follow what UNO and say where you are say people know what. Eh? So who's that socialism and tell say is that what? Socialism is a step from what? Communist. Man, I forgot about sorry about you, but you can bring that to here, so yeah? So yeah, I better we not gonna answer you, cause right now we don't have no time for the foolishness with you. Man, go on with your teaching here. You understand? It's a communist country, a communist. Don't tell me about a step. You're far wing in America. We want to destroy everything else and believe in the racism and KKK, Ku Klux Klan and all kind of thing. Go tell me about that. You have the far left and you have the far right. Far right. We believe in all kind of things. QAnon and all kind of thing. We believe we must exist. And I believe in a Black Lives Matters and all kind of thing. Nobody, don't bother me not make you start me boy. I tell me about socialism a step away. Communists. Don't bring that to it. Don't bring it to it. None at all. You understand? Go bring the far right. You must be one of the far right there.
Certainly not one with a common touch or particularly radical agenda. Micheal Manley was very privileged, was educated at the London School of Economics, but he inherited a much more intense charisma than his father, as well as a robust commitment to anti-imperialism, anti-colonialism, and, in fact, democratic socialism.
So the man I deal with democratic. What is a democratic? Democratic country where we are run. We have two parties that we run democratic socialism. When we believe in a variety of things and things you come at about, you have to come tell me about communism, about a step away. Communism and this are two different things. Don't you know bring that to me. What about the far right? We're in America right now and where them are doing all kind of things. See them just move. See them just move on Robert Lee statue. And see enough people bet about it. Just move it. Somewhere in Georgia or something yesterday. See? Yeah. Them just move it and move Stonewall Jackson statue them and them thing there. We know what about these things. Don't come tell me what you think we don't know history. Eh? Don't come tell me nothing. You understand? Can't come tell me nothing where fool and things you can about if people didn't know what. You can't come tell about step away. Eh? Eh? You tell me about the far right and them thing. They'll come tell me no foolishness yourself. We know none of that. See? Let me just rewind this a bit. Loan some you talk to, yeah? They will tell me that we can go in on a politics same way and tell you about one bag of things, you know. But if you say, I want to demand this where they sit down so when they can run in and come talk when they want to talk, you know. But that's crazy, yeah, so.
And his father, as well as a robust commitment to anti-imperialism, anti-colonialism, and, in fact, democratic socialism.
So the man about out the imperialism and the rest of the slave business and the kind of little things they want to tie up and want to rule and things. The man want self-reliance and everything. The man never overthrow and say me run party. You go about thing there. I know we favor China. With one party when nobody else can push up the mid and all kind of things. Russia, you crush China. I just one party. See? So you tell about a step away against what I want. Come talk to me.
He took office in 1972 and he did implement a series of reforms. Land reform, expanded education programs. He eliminated discrimination for children born out of wedlock and implemented other significant reforms.
Communists have respect for you, you know, such an run. Woman, hey, and what people can't have, them put two or most if it to three the other day. You can't talk. You don't do this, you don't do this. You talk about one step away. Jamaica never runs so yet. I know it runs so now. Where if you talk now, police won't come for you. So we don't need, you know, when you come in and a pitching, we have to move your car. We now follow where you're saying. You don't need nobody else.
In 1975, Agostinho Neto's Marxist-oriented popular movement for the liberation of Angola led Angola to a hard-fought independence. Almost immediately, the South African apartheid regime invaded. Fidel Castro offered his aid, but the well-trained and equipped Cuban forces were an ocean away. Cuban forces needed to refuel on their way to Angola. And
so we're talking about some international thing now. Where Manley and Cuba them involved for help a brother them down in Africa there, so with the South the apartheid guy them rush them over there and go free them up. Cuba go free them up, go mash them up. And Manley make them refuel them and thing down in a Guyana. Hold on, let me go and play it. And Barbados too, yeah?
Manley, along with Forbes Burnham in Guyana and Errol Barrow in Barbados, agreed to provide landing bases and diplomatic cover for the Cuban forces. Washington objected strongly to this, and Henry Kissinger went personally to see Manley and demand that his government withdraw support. He declined Kissinger's request and pushed Kissinger's hand out of his face.
Yeah.
So
by Kissinger doing him on the face. You understand? So Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger. Go down there because you want them in South Africa. You remember they have the minority rule. See? The apartheid thing and them attack the next state in Africa and Castro give them help. And Manley give them help too and Kissinger say him decline. You understand? We help brother and sister. See?
Along with opposition of the old school aristocracy and oligarchy of Jamaica led to increasing pressure on the Manley government. By 1975, you saw immense acts of political violence and intensity. By this point in the 70s, you had cities like Kingston split up into different garrisons, different neighborhoods that were represented by different parties that would distribute patronage in different networks. Depending on whose party was in charge, could affect your building contracts, your housing, your employment contracts, and your social welfare. And in order to get out the vote in these neighborhoods, there were gunmen and gangs associated with both of the major parties, the People's National Party as led by Micheal Manley, and the Jamaica Labour Party led by Edward Seaga. Now, the Jamaica Labour Party, unlike its name might indicate, was the party of the right, although it did have some connections with certain Jamaican labor unions. This, along with what many allege was a sort of beginning of a CIA destabilization campaign of Jamaica, which would accelerate throughout the latter part of the 70s as a result of Manley's charting an independent foreign policy and jeopardizing capitalist and traditional interests in Jamaica.
They know what capitalists. I'm gonna tell you, say, all right, capitalists. You know what I deal with the capitalism, and I want to reject them and you know and part of the independent way, and them tie your foot and dry it up.
They will go in the secret group that is trying to mash up the country.
Yes.
We'll go in among the youth and find one that look like a leader. And then call him one side and they say, hey brother, we drop your $1,000 on the side. If you get the boys tomorrow night to go down across the road and carry out a raid. But you don't know that it is a destabilization agent that has paid somebody to come among him and sell the idea of starting a bit of a street fight.
He won re-election in 1976 in spite of increased violence and pressure from Seaga and almost certainly pressure from the United States. As his term wore on, the combination of destabilization campaign, in fact alleged by a rogue CIA agent, Philip Agee, who quit the agency and actually exposed and specifically named agents on the ground.
Philip Agee quit. You say, and then name agent on the ground in our country will come and destabilize your place because them don't like this. You know, man, that a little man on a little island turn a world leader. What's a world leader? You know, stand up for the Jamaican and for the poor and pushing something, but pushing things. The Africa towards other places. And talk, you know. Yeah, you have to separate yourself. Stand up on your foot. Self-reliance. You don't want to hear that. They want you to rely upon. You rely on them. You understand? It's like a slave. You understand? That's what we believe, you know. When our government right now, and like them come and say, hey, we could have some of them factory, they will build some of them things there and boom bam bam and some of them iPad and some of them this and because we have a place it near, it close. We can get this and that. You know, China and them places get all of that. You know, negotiate with them, call some of them company and say, yeah, what we can do. You drop one of them places where everything can live and you get better job and better paying job and all kind of things. No. Answer phone, clean toilet, you know, wash plate, and serve and watch people just relax in a hotel. I want to get and go up and farm work. Show them attached to slavery to me. Show them. Yeah. Come to your island and then build some little place where you can even buy and call it estate. Estate, a slave plantation. Shouldn't even use the word. You want to go look. Pen and estate. Because Jamaica did pen up and be estate. Estate are the bigger part. Yeah?
Independent pressure, U.S. corporations fleeing, investment pulling back. And then, of course, that cycle that you did see in the 70s where there was deficit spending in vital investments in education and public services and relieving poverty, but there also wasn't a sort of general kind of liberation of resources and other vital factors in the Jamaican economy. So the middle class started to leave, tourism was hurt, commodity prices for things like bauxite went down. After some hesitation and an attempt to consult Jamaican people through a popular initiative, Manley chose the IMF. A series of agreements increasing austerity tore into the few advances that poor and working people had made, contributing to Manley's declining popularity and shifting balances of nationality. And in 1980, Edward Seaga would win. It would be another enormously violent election with very heavy artillery. There were 189 reported murders. The other aspect of this killing, and this will lead us to Seaga specifically, is that there is a gang called the Shower Posse, which was able to rise in Jamaica when Seaga took power in the 1980s. And the Shower Posse's was led by a guy named Jim Brown, or Lester Coke, who was a personal bodyguard and political enforcer for Edward Seaga, and was able to, in fact, travel on a diplomatic passport. Edward Seaga defeated the democratic socialism of Micheal Manley. He was associated and very close with the Reagan administration. There were comparisons between him and the Duvalier regime in Haiti. He came to power, he implemented austerity, he liberalized markets, he helped the DEA in a very ruthless crackdown of marijuana cultivation in Jamaica. So
the DEA, okay, the ruthless crackdown of marijuana cultivation in Jamaica. And then crack spread. Okay.
An economic assault on what Manley had attempted to do in terms of creating broader prosperity and a form of social democracy in Jamaica.
So, to create the prosperity, you have the economic assault upon that and change it and run it back way. And change it back, okay. And get back to the fire of them.
In Jamaica. So an economic assault on what Manley had attempted to do in terms of creating broader prosperity and a form of social democracy in Jamaica, a reorienting towards the traditional landholding elites that control Jamaica, very, very small group of people, the sort of remnants of colonial occupation.
So turn back them land to them, to the people them with the colonial occupation. Them get back, enough of them land, and it continue up to today.
Jamaica, a reorienting towards the traditional landholding elites that control Jamaica, very, very small group of people, the sort of remnants of colonial occupation. Then he sort of returned Jamaica to the orbit of the United States as a client state. All of these things were synchronized at the same time with the Shower Posse. Basically, the Shower Posse is in the United States. They're also fighting rival gangs back inside New York and other places who had fled because they had been the losing side of the 1980 election. And they are credited with setting up incredibly sophisticated crack distribution networks across the United States, and credited with upwards of 1,400 murders or more, according to some estimates. They were, in fact, personally selected by Colombia's Cali cartel to handle a lot of mid-level work inside its distribution routes. In 1985, Seaga imposes a gas tax and other forms of austerities that are sort of even harsher. There's a major reaction on the island. There's riots, there's protests, but still no change in policy or governance. The relentless violence of the Shower Posse crosses the radar of U.S. officials, both in terms of the sort of weapons smuggling going in and out of Jamaica, a lot of course, the weapons going from the United States back into Jamaica, but also across state lines in the United States, and an incredibly vicious murder that Jim Brown, Lester Coke himself, was implicated in 1985 in Miami, killing several people at a crack house. In the late 1980s, there was a broad U.S. crackdown. What emerged out of this finally in 1992 was that Coke, who had operated with complete impunity, including murdering a minibus driver in broad daylight in Kingston and getting acquitted, was arrested by Jamaican police and awaiting extradition to the United States. Coke was burned alive in his prison cell while awaiting extradition. And the very grounded rumor is that Edward Seaga ordered the killing because Coke was threatening to flip on him and testify about broader linkages between both Seaga personally and his labor government to the cocaine trade. In 1989,
you know, you have to seek everything, you know. Yeah, man, you have to seek everything.
Ordered the killing because Coke was threatening to flip on him and testify about broader linkages between both Seaga personally and his labor government to the cocaine trade. In 1989, Manley would actually return to power as a very softened and diminished figure. He had spent time in the 1980s writing. He lectured at Columbia University and City College and other places. And by the time of his return to power, he was ready to accept the world as it was, the strictures of global economics, very actively sought foreign direct investment. He did not want to anger the United States or the IMF or World Bank. He did maintain some independence in connection to Cuba. He did increase social investments and try to still deliver for the communities that he still could speak pretty passionately about and who the PNP was designed to serve.
What therefore do we in Jamaica, we in the People's National Party, what do we think are the realities with which we must deal? We are mostly cases of small economies. We almost all reflect that structural dependence, which is the legacy of the long colonial experience.
By this point, both as someone who had been victimized in the international system and as the international currents had shifted so much in such a neoliberal direction, Micheal Manley became almost a prototype of the type of third-way politics that would jet across the globe in the 1990s. Coke's son took over the Shower Posse. They stopped operating so flamboyantly in the United States, though they still certainly were major drug traffickers in New York and Canada as well. They brought back home a lot of violence to Jamaica, and Christopher Coke actually built out Tivoli Gardens, which is this housing development that plays an important role in both the gang and their links to the Jamaica Labor Party. He ran Tivoli Gardens within complete control and also cultivated a Robin Hood image for himself. He paid for schools, he paid for clothing, he paid for people's funerals if they needed to. He helped people get jobs, he helped people get placed in college. He, of course, was raised both as the son of a top gangster, but also went to Jamaica's best schools and mixed with Jamaica's elite. There was speculation in Bruce Golding's term, who was Prime Minister of Jamaica, also a member of Edward Seaga's Labour Party, that not only did Coke help him get elected, but also that Coke had potentially even more power or even more centrality. His nickname was the President. That was where they were in 2010, the Obama administration pressuring the Golding administration to extradite Dudas for his role in drug trafficking in New York and for various other racketeering crimes. And the government being so committed to protecting him, they did in fact hire a lobbying firm in an attempt to get the Obama administration to reverse that decision. Eventually, Golding would actually fold to U.S. pressure and betray his gangster associate. And this would lead to an incursion in Tivoli Gardens in the spring of 2010 that killed over 70 civilians. By all reports, the buildup of the story was that if the army comes in, the Shower Posse will protect Dudas, the community will protect him, the community would be fortified with sandbags. There were gangsters that were trained in heavy artillery. The gang certainly had heavy artillery and snipers. When police, when military, when other figures that really had serious power, they came in, and by all accounts, they engaged in mass atrocities and killings. Days later, Coke would eventually be arrested. He was not even in Tivoli Gardens with his people. He was in fact arrested. He was dressed as a woman in the car of a priest. He, unlike his father, was extradited to the United States. He pled guilty to a variety of drug charges and is now serving time in prison. The Shower Posse, what was left of it in Jamaica now, attempts to operate in a more discreet fashion, and there is a different definitely de-escalated sense of kind of state capture in Jamaica, but the underlying problems of poverty, structural violence that story tells us, going back to U.S. foreign policy, going back to weaponizing the Jamaica Labor Party, potentially even giving paramilitary training to members of the posse, which would in some ways explain some of the sophistication that the gang brought to operations in the 1980s crack trade. It all goes back to structural variables.
These governments have been so crippled by the International Monetary Fund that they have nothing to dispense. So basically what you're seeing, and you're seeing it all over the world, you're seeing it in Mexico, you're seeing it in Colombia, you're seeing it in Jamaica, and all the islands throughout the Caribbean, is a withering away of the power of the state. You're seeing states that are now so impotent, so unable to really provide for their own people, that the drug trade steps in to fill the vacuum. And that is why these men, despite their violence and their mayhem, are seen as Robin Hood heroes to the poor.
Bad bro, yeah, see. See me I talk about alright, yeah, so we just come look on, Monday. Sometimes you have to just go back here, I have to go back in that history. And then in the present now, look later I play in the present, because I want to listen to where the Prime Minister said no, and what him do, and what we did. Because for him watch, we have about 1,600 odd people dead from COVID, where they might push out. And then they might tell me wrong, you want me to tell you something, I watched TV last night, and them say, how much dead from COVID yesterday? 20? Or something like that. But they might tell you about something from August the 12th to September the 4th. Because them give 31 dead from in August, that them I said the 27 to the 29. Them give a next set 20 odd dead from August, this, that. Then them give a next set. So instead of them come and say, okay, we kill 100 dead, them not do that, them going to get some out of it. And that them are there, because you can't tell me about August now. We're there the 9th. We're there the 8th yesterday. You cannot tell me say August. So we listen to them in the back talk. So instead of them come get the massive how much people dead one time, so it's like a fight in Jamaica, them break it down like them, that's a 31. And next day, but listen when them say them people them dead from. The date. Just listen to the date. Now listen them from August the 12th till no, can't come tell me that. See? Because we pass that with their September now. So nobody go back in August. So then give you something that say them dead in August. So give you something say them dead in September from the 4th to the 7th of September. So yeah, man. So them. Alright, some people are calling me. Hear this. Remember this knocking